Why play Ziggs Bot? Well, he is incredibly easy to pick up and do well with. He has very long range, he pushes waves incredibly fast, and he's a beast in a teamfight. However, he is skill shot reliant, so can struggle against high mobility, and he can be very mana hungry, especially in the early game. Ziggs' passive is he periodically makes his next basic attack deal additional damage, and this damage is increased massively against structures, and the cooldown of the passive is reduced every time he uses an ability. Ziggs' Q is a skill shot which will bounce up to twice before it explodes. It will explode upon landing near an enemy, within terrain, or on the final bounce. When it does explode, it deals damage to all nearby enemies. Ziggs' W throws a circle onto the floor for 4 seconds. This can then be reactivated to detonate the circle, or it will explode by itself after 4 seconds, dealing damage to and knocking back all enemies hit. And if Ziggs is inside the circle when it detonates, it dashes him a large distance. In addition, his W can be used to destroy towers on low health. Ziggs' E throws out a circle of bombs on the floor. These grant sight of the area for a short amount of time and then last up to 10 seconds. If an enemy walks over the mines, they take damage and are slowed. And if they walk over more mines, they take reduced damage. Ziggs' ultimate has a massive range. It causes him to throw out a large circle which grants sight of the area. When the bomb reaches this area, it explodes, dealing damage to all enemies hit, and enemies within the center of this ability take massively increased damage. For combos, a quick burst is to simply use your Q, then E, then W as fast as possible, using the W to blast them through your mines, and towards you for the empowered attack. And if you can start this combo with an empowered attack, even better. If you have your ultimate available, simply start with an auto attack into your ultimate, or start simply with your ult. For matchups, Ziggs does great into champions that often rely on their range and that he can simply AoE kill in a team fight. And he can struggle against carries that can easily lock him down or simply get onto him. For runes, take this. Comet just makes everything very easy. For build order, start Ring and Pot, grabbing an early tier into Leandries, tier 2 boots, and your Archangels. After this, a Shadow Flame, Void Staff, and Hat are all great pickups for damage, with all of these items being viable too. For skill order, start Q then E then W before maxing Q then E then W, taking ult whenever you can. For summoner spells, Ziggs is so safe that Flash and Teleport is the go-to. However, heal can be useful into more aggressive lanes. Starting the game, you are the carry, so your main job will always be to farm hard to scale hard. The easiest way to get free farm is by poking and trading well. If your opponent doesn't know how to play against a Ziggs, they will from time to time stand on their own minions. Every time your opponent does this, it's a free Q for you. Being able to detonate it instantly on a minion means it's impossible for them to dodge and free damage. Otherwise, when looking for poke, if they ever go up to trade, look to land your empowered auto attack into a Q as often as possible. When looking for trades, if you can ever simply dump all your buttons onto an enemy, it will deal good amounts of damage. And if you can land your W so it blasts them away or blasts you away, then it can make it very hard for your opponent to trade back. As all of his abilities are AoE, you'll often find yourself pushing hard. So between your pushing power and the fact your passive does massively increase damage to towers, you'll often want to be pushing in to get tower plate gold. Entering the mid game, you want to take your tower as soon as possible and rotate mid. You are amazing at sieging and destroying towers, so once you've opened up both the bot and the mid lane, your team will have a massive amount of map control. Entering late game teamfights, you are an absolute beast, with all of your abilities dealing tons of AoE damage. Before the fight starts, you can use your E, which lasts 10 seconds to block off any choke points, and spam your Qs. At this stage, your Qs deal tons of damage, and if you can land a few onto your enemy, it will massively weaken them. When the fight starts, spam out all of your AoE damage, but always prioritize keeping yourself safe.